All right, first up, folks, if your business relies on N8n for automation, you need to stop what you're doing and listen up right now. A max severity vulnerability dubbed Nightmare was disclosed by the folks over at N8n. This is a CVSS score of 10 out of 10. It does not get any worse than this. Yeah, the vulnerability has to do with how N8n handles inbound requests for webhooks and forms. And the scary part is that an unauthenticated attacker can abuse this to pivot from weird requests to a compromise of the server, which would include stealing the secrets and potentially achieving full code execution and a full instance takeover. So if N8n is your automation hub, you need to also realize that it's also a credential vault. It's storing API keys, OAuth tokens, cloud secrets, CI/CD tokens. All of that is probably stored in your N8n instance. So compromise N8n and attackers don't just get access to that one system, they now get access to all the systems that interact with N8n. And this isn't just an edge case either, folks. The Shodan search that I ran earlier this morning showed over 100,000 exposed servers globally, which means there's a lot of internet-facing instances that are just sitting there waiting to get popped. So if you're running N8n on your on-prem, here's my advice to you. You need to patch immediately to version 1.121.0. And if you have to stay online before you can patch, you can restrict public webhooks and forums. But for God's sake, rotate all the secrets that are used by your N8n workflows. My next story is a reminder that attackers don't need 0 days when your org is still living in password-only land. A threat actor known as Zestix, aka Centap, has been linked to over 50 breaches of organizations all over the world by doing the easiest move in cybercrime: buying the credentials harvested by InfoStealer malware and logging into the cloud platforms where MFA isn't enforced. Just username and password. No MFA, no geofencing, no nothing. That's about as basic as it gets, okay? Now, reports describe access to multiple cloud storage platforms like ShareFile, Nextcloud, and OwnCloud environments, again, using just the credentials that were stolen through info stealers like Luma or Redline. In several cases, the passwords used were multiple years old. And again, these aren't niche companies either. You've probably heard of a few of these. Coverage names a mix of major enterprises and critical sectors. The ugly lesson here, folks, is that if attackers can buy a single working username and password combo and there's no MFA, you're screwed. All right, our last story is all about how your favorite mobile game might be using bots to steal your money. Yeah, so the folks at Papaya Gaming, who are the developers of apps like Solitaire Cash and Bingo Cash, reached a $15 million settlement in a class action lawsuit. Yeah, they were accused of misleading players about fair competition. Specifically, claims were made that bots were being used in skill-based cash contests. One interesting to note here in the case was that allegations were made that internal efforts were made to make the bots look more human, especially when the players got suspicious. Now, Papaya denies any wrongdoing, which is impressive because that $15 million settlement sure looks pretty guilty to me. So, if you've deposited money or played for cash during that period, check your eligibility and deadlines. You might actually have some money coming your way. So that wraps up today's stories. This is Andy Thompson signing off.